So before I begin, I'd like to take a quick poll. So raise your hand if you have or currently are playing any competitive sports. Okay, so a lot of us. Now, raise your hand if you enjoy reading. Okay, so a decent amount. So before I really get into all my research and stuff, I'd like to answer a simple question, and that's, why does this matter? Well, there are over 8 million high school student athletes as of now, so obviously this could impact a significant amount of people. As well as I personally enjoy playing sports a lot, and I'm sure like many of you, I'm pretty competitive, as well as I do like reading, so I thought, why not just not benefit myself, but also try and benefit others with this research. Next, a person who also does enjoy reading in their presentations was LeBron James. So you may think like many athletes, they don't read, they're just sticking to their sport, but in the 2012 playoffs, LeBron James read the Hunger Games books before many of his games, and his statistics were proven to be a little bit better, not significantly, but better. So today I'm going to show you guys what happens in the brain when you read, what sports can do to your brain, and why reading can be beneficial to your performance in sports activities. So first off, I'd like to talk about what happens in your brain when you read. Now, reading different materials and how you read creates different brain patterns in your brain. For example, researchers at Stanford University found that brain patterns drastically change due to how you read a book. So for example, if you were really invested in the book, you were reading it for pleasure, taking in all the literary forms of the book, you had a very increased blood flow to your brain. While people who were just reading the book they were just skimming it, they weren't really taking in, had a significantly less blood flow to the brain. Another research study done by the Laboratory of Language Dynamics conducted a study where participants would first start off by lying down in an MRI machine. Next, they would read sentences such as, "John kicked the ball." After doing so, the MRI showed activity in the motor cortex, which for all of you non-neurologists in here is the part of the brain where it controls the body's movements. Scientists were even able to conduct more of these studies and figure out where exactly certain parts of your body corresponded in the motor cortex. So for example, if I read Grant hit his arm, I could see in the MRI machine where exactly the arm part of that was happening. Likewise, for like my leg got hit, another part in that part of the motor cortex would show up, and you'd see exactly where that was. This led me to my next question of if the type of book or genre had different effects on your brain. A study from Emory University found that if a person can become invested in a book, they were able to strengthen the imagination and become more susceptible to empathy in a way that is similar to the visualization of a muscle memory in sports. So with this, I decided to conduct my own experiment while playing baseball to see if all these claims are true. I came up with a plan to read one nonfiction book, The Lost City of Z, and a fiction book in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. These two right here. When going into this experiment, I was also curious to see if the amount of time I read these books, would affect me for the better or for the worse. So to test this, I would read in intervals before the game. So I started off with my fiction book first, and I read for 3 games 30 minutes before the game, 3 games an hour before the game, and 3 games basically up until the game started. I did the same thing for my fiction book, and I got some pretty surprising results. So for you guys' convenience, I created a graph just to show my results, so I don't have to bore you with reading them all out. So these first 3 are fiction, and then the next 3 are the nonfiction, and as you can see, the number of times that I felt I had a greater impact on me was with the fiction book reading right up until the game. With all 3 games that I tested it, I felt like I had a advantage, I guess you could say, or it affected me for the better. I must admit, when I first started this with the 30-minute, I didn't see a whole lot of change at all. And I kind of thought, this was a pretty big waste of time. Didn't really see anything happening. But then I noticed slowly but surely as I was reading, especially the fiction books, like, for example, my batting average would slowly be going up. Significant numbers, but slowly going up. My errors were slowly going down, and I found that it was pretty interesting. And I had like a better sense of concentration and game situational awareness. And I have emphasized that this is due to the increased blood flow in my brain, which the previous study had stated. Now, this isn't to say that the nonfiction books didn't have any effect on me at all. Didn't have any effect on me at all, but it was just not as prominent as the fiction books were. By the end of my testing, I saw that I statistically played better than before I was reading these books, and specifically when I was reading all the way up until my game started. So to answer the question that I set out to answer, personally, reading did help me in my sports performances, especially the fiction books, and I was able to have a better situational awareness when I was playing. Now, this isn't to say that this couldn't be the same for you. It could be the total opposite. It doesn't help you at all, or the nonfiction may help you. But now that you guys kind of know all about what happens in your brain when you read and when you play sports, I encourage you to go pick up a book and see what it can do for you. Thank you.